We can make these things in the lab, small batches, but to produce like the huge amount you'd need for agriculture, a whole different story.
It's like, baking one cookie versus like supplying a whole bakery.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's the cost, of course.
Right.
Especially in agriculture, where margins are already so tight. We need to make sure it's actually affordable for farmers.
So it's not just about like proving it works. It's got to be practical, for real world use on a big scale.
Exactly. But even if we figure all that out, there's another layer. Remember, we're not just talking about one kind of Janus particle here. There are tons of variations.
Oh, right.
Each one with its own properties and, potential uses.
So it's not a one size fits all. We might need like different particles for different crops.
Right.
Different climates, different types of soil even.
Exactly. It's like having a whole toolbox. You need the right tool for the right job. And that's what makes the research so exciting,
Yeah. It sounds like a whole universe of possibilities, really. We talked about the water harvesting, but our sources mentioned another potential use in agritech. It's Pickering emulsions. Can you explain what those are?
Sure. Pickering emulsions, they're basically a type of emulsion that gets stabilized by solid particles instead of the, typical surfactants like you find in soap and stuff. And guess what? Janus particles, they're showing a lot of promise here.
Of course they are. They're like the superheroes of the nanoparticle world. But seriously, how could these Pickering emulsions actually be used in agriculture?
Well, think about pesticides or fertilizers. Right now, we just spray them over whole fields, which can be super wasteful and, not great for the environment.
So instead of this like spray and pray approach, we could use Pickering emulsions for more like targeted delivery?
Exactly. We could encapsulate these substances in like tiny droplets of the emulsion, stabilized by the Janus particles, and then those particles, they could help deliver the pesticides or fertilizers directly to the plants. Less waste, less ending up in the soil or water.
That's a huge step toward more sustainable farming.
Yeah.
And more efficient, right? And I bet it could even mean better crop yields if you're getting those nutrients exactly where they need to be.
Absolutely. It's a whole new level of precision and control, really. But it's not just efficiency. These Pickering emulsions, they could even help reduce the risk of pesticide resistance.
Really? How so?
Well, by being so targeted with the pesticides, you're reducing the overall exposure for the pests. And that could help slow down how fast they develop resistance.
It's amazing how these tiny particles can have like such a ripple effect. Affecting everything from water to like managing pests.
It's all about thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Finding these creative ways to use nanotech to solve the big problems facing agriculture, and who knows what else we'll discover as the research keeps going.
Speaking of discoveries, I'm kind of curious about the actual structure of these Janus particles. We've talked about the two sides.
Yeah.
Is it like really as simple as that, or?
It's definitely more nuanced than just like two sides. It's about how those sides interact with each other and with their environment.
So it's not just the materials, it's how they're arranged, how they behave at this like the super tiny scale.
Exactly. Remember those micelles and vesicles? They don't just form randomly.
Right.
Their structure is all dictated by their specific properties of the Janus particles. Scientists are starting to figure out how to tweak those interactions to make particles that have very specific properties.
So it's like nanoscale engineering almost.
Exactly. We're building materials from scratch, atom by atom.
Incredible. So how do they actually control those interactions?
Well, it's all about the chemistry. Remember, one side's hydrophilic, it loves water. The other side is hydrophobic, hates water.
Right.
By choosing the materials for each side very carefully, scientists can control how strong those interactions are.
So stronger attraction on one side, stronger repulsion on the other.
Yeah.
And by like messing with those properties, they can change how the particles act.
Exactly. And it's not just the materials themselves, it's the surface area of each side. Remember that Janus limit, that 50-50 split?
Yeah.
That's key. Change that ratio and you change how the particles interact.
So a particle with like a bigger hydrophilic side, that would be even more attracted to water.
Right.
And that would affect how it forms those structures and how it actually functions.
You got it. It's all about understanding that balance, the push and pull between these forces and how it plays out at this tiny, tiny scale. It's really a mix of physics, chemistry, and engineering all coming together.
It's like a whole new dimension of material science.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see how they're figuring out these particles and fine-tuning them for all these different applications.
And remember, we've mostly been talking about agritech here. Janus particles are also being researched for tons of other fields. Drug delivery, self-healing materials, even water purification.
Water purification, that's interesting. How could these particles help like clean up our water?
Well, imagine a Janus particle and one side specifically designed to like grab onto pollutants, things like heavy metals, toxins, all that. It'd be like a tiny magnet, pulling those contaminants right out of the water.
A nanoscale filtration system.
Exactly. And because they're so small, they could get to places that those bigger filters just can't reach. Really exciting stuff with huge potential for tackling water pollution.
The more we learn about Janus particles, the more amazing they seem. It's wild to think that something so small could have such a big impact,
It's a testament to how powerful scientific research is and the ingenuity of all these scientists and engineers who are constantly pushing the boundaries.
It feels like we're on the verge of like a tech revolution.
Yeah.
All driven by these tiny two-phased particles.
I agree. It's going to be interesting to see what the future holds for them, that's for sure.
Well, we've covered a lot today, the science behind Janus particles, their potential in agritech and all these other areas.
Yeah.
The challenges, the opportunities, all that.
It's been a real journey into the world of nanotech.
And I'm excited to see what new discoveries are waiting for us, in this field that's moving so fast.
Yeah, the beauty of science is there's always more to learn, more to explore, and I have a feeling these Janus particles, they'll keep surprising us for a long time to come.
Speaking of surprises, there's one more thing about these Janus particles that we haven't touched on. It's their ability to form these unique structures beyond the simple micelles and vesicles we talked about.
Yes, that's where the whole two-phase thing really comes in. It creates this push and pull that leads to some really amazing self-organized patterns.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention. Tell me more about these structures. What do they look like? How do they form?
All right, so picture a solution of these Janus particles. The hydrophilic sides, they want to be near each other, right? And the hydrophobic sides, they're trying to stay away from the water.
So it's like a microscopic dance almost.
Yeah.
Attraction and repulsion are calling the shots.
Exactly. And depending on how many particles there are, what each side is made of, they can form all sorts of structures. Chains, sheets, even 3D networks.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like they're following a set of rules, but then those rules lead to all this emergent behavior.
It's self-organization at its finest.
Yeah.
Simple interactions at the individual level create these complex structures on a larger scale.
So are these dynamic structures just a cool science thing?
Yeah.
Or do they have actual applications?
I think the potential's huge, but we're still early on figuring out how to control them, really manipulate them.
Yeah.
But imagine being able to create materials that could change their shape or their properties, all in response to some kind of external signal, like temperature or light.
That sounds like something straight out of sci-fi.
Yeah, self-transforming materials.
Yeah.
It might sound far out there, but that's the kind of potential we're talking about.
So these structures, they could be the key to making a whole new generation of these smart materials.
That's one of the most exciting areas of research in the field, absolutely.
Yeah. It's crazy to think these tiny particles could be the building blocks for materials that can adapt and evolve, respond to their surroundings.
It shows you that nature is full of surprises.
It does.
Even the smallest things can hold incredible potential.
Well, this deep dive has definitely opened my eyes to this whole world of Janus particles and what they could do. Tiny water harvesters, self-transforming materials. It seems like they could change so many industries.
And I think we barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
As the research goes on, I bet we'll uncover even more crazy properties and applications for these little two-faced wonders.
I'm excited to see what the future holds. But for now, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive. It's been an incredible journey.
It has.
Into the world of nanotechnology.
It really has.
But before we go, I gotta ask, if you could design a Janus particle for any application, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. If I could, I'd create one that could target and destroy cancer cells.
Wow. That would be the full game changer.
Imagine one side designed to attach to those cancer cells, and the other side delivers a dose of chemo.
Right where it needs to be.
Or some other treatment, yeah.
It'd be like a microscopic guided missile.
Yeah.
Going after the cancer without harming the healthy tissue.
Exactly. That's the kind of precision we're talking about. Targeted therapy that could totally revolutionize how we treat cancer.
It's a big goal.
Yeah.
But thanks to how versatile these Janus particles are, it's definitely possible.
Definitely worth going after.
Well, on that note of hope and innovation, I think it's time to wrap things up.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of Janus particles.
We hope you enjoyed learning about the science behind them and the potential they have.
Hey, sometimes the smallest things make the biggest impact, right?
Until next time, keep exploring. Yeah, it's a good reminder that, sometimes these big breakthroughs, they come from the most unexpected places.
That's what makes science so cool, right? There's always something new waiting to be discovered. Some hidden potential.
Speaking of unlocking potential, we've focused a lot on agritech, but
Yeah.
You mentioned that Janus particle, they have a lot of other uses too.
Oh yeah, tons.
What are some of the other areas where these things are making waves?
Well, we talked about water purification a bit earlier. That's a huge one. Imagine using these particles to clean up wastewater from factories.
Yeah.
Or even create those portable water filters, for places that don't have clean water.
It's incredible to think something this small could help solve those kinds of global problems.
Yeah.
What other applications are you personally really excited about?
One that really fascinates me is in medicine. We talked about drug delivery for cancer, but that's just the beginning.
What else are they looking at, in the medical field?
Well, imagine using Janus particles to create these biosensors that can detect specific things in your body, warning signs of diseases.
Wow.
Or what about using them to make antimicrobial coatings for medical implants and stuff?
So they don't get infected.
Exactly. Prevent infection.
So we're talking about this whole new era of medicine.
Yeah, totally.
Where treatments are really tailored to each person.
That's what makes nanotech so revolutionary.
Yeah.
It lets us work with this level of precision that we could only dream of before.
It really is mind-boggling when you think about it. Well, we've covered a ton today. The science behind Janus particles, how they could be used in agritech, medicine, cleaning up the environment, all kinds of stuff.
A real whirlwind tour of the nano world.
But it's important to remember we're just at the beginning, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's still so much to learn about these particles.
I can't wait to see what the future holds. But for now, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
It's been great exploring all this with you.
It has.
I hope this has, piqued your interest a little.
Oh, definitely.
Given you a glimpse into how incredible nanotech can be.
My mind is officially blown. Who knew?